Greetings Teslamoncers, Dioximo here, and today I want to talk about input binding and the most controversial speedrunning strats so far in Teslagrad 2. So, let's start with the beginning of that story. So, in a normal any percent run, you reach at some point this part with the invasion sequence. So, you have Halfton and his Vikings coming from the right, and you have the Droggers and Galvan on the balcony here, and there is the invasion, the big fight, and what you do and what we do in a speedrun is you escape from the left and take this wire. This wire is a scripted sequence. Here, if I try to blink out, I cannot, because the game forces me to stay inside. And what we do in a speedrun right after is blink cancel, stomp cancel blink like that. So we cancel our stomp with a blink. So, wait, that's a stomp and we can cancel it with a blink. And we do that to avoid falling on the left here. And then now we are here. We can use some sliding shenanigans like this. Please, game. Like this. Okay, second try is not that bad. To reach the top of the mountain. And at the top of the mountain we have this cutscene, and that's the cutscene that plays after the Halfdan boss fight, where you get the axe. So what we just did is we skipped the Viking airship, and the Halfdan boss fight. So that's a massive time gain. But the big problem with that strategy is that it's really inconsistent. I just got it second try with the sliding on the mountain and stuff, but it's really inconsistent. Sliding in general is inconsistent. That will be probably the subject of another video. But yeah, that strat is the most reset heavy point of the run so far. Fortunately, a couple of days ago, a new strat has been found, so let's show it. So here we are again at the invasion. And so we are here, the invasion starts, the cutscene starts, and we escape from the left again. But this time we are just not going to ride the wire, and instead use some very precise stomp cancel blink to cross the entire map to reach the mountain. And so this is possible because when you stomp, you stop falling, so Lumina stays in the air for longer. And usually when you stomp, okay, so that's the mountain, and you fall here, and this is the tunnel that leads to the cutscene. So, this works because when you stomp, you stop falling first, but also because if you blink with a really good timing, you can keep some velocity. So, here I slide, and if I blink, the closer my blink is from my stomp, and the more speed I will keep. So, for example, here I will do it badly on purpose. So here, see, the stomp stopped Lumina's momentum because I blinked too late. Let me do it again. Oops. This wire, as I said, is scripted, so if I blink inside, I just have to restart. But see, with a bad blink timing, you don't keep a lot of speed. But with a good blink timing, which I did earlier, you can keep a lot of speed and reach the mountain really quickly. Quicker, in fact, than if you ride the cable and then do the trick. So that strat is more consistent and maybe faster than the normal strat. So that's really good, right? Well, yes, but it's only faster when you do really good or nearly frame perfect blink cancel stomps. And the thing is, you saw earlier what it was to do it frame perfectly, because when I just show the new strat, I cheated. Well, I kinda cheated to make some frame perfect stomps. So, oops, sorry. Let me just do it again, like this. Gather a little bit of speed. And now, from this point, all of these are frame perfect. And how do I know? It's not. I'm not bragging like I'm so good, I'm frame perfect and stuff. No, it's not bragging. It's just that I managed to, in my settings, set my blink button and my Mjolnir button to the same key. And it means that I basically created a macro. So as you can see, my up arrow here is for Mjolnir and for blink, which means that every time I press my up arrow, the game first stomp, and in the same frame will cancel that stomp with a blink, which is the frame perfect thing that allows you to keep a maximum speed. I nearly don't lose any speed. Yeah, it's as simple as just pressing one button. And that's a little bit controversial. So, why is it controversial? Well, several reasons. The very first version of that strat was done by manually editing a file in the game's files. So in the games folder, you have a file that saves your bindings. So all of these bindings are in a file, and you can just open that file with Notepad and edit your keybinds, because normally the game doesn't allow you to set multiple actions on the same keybind. So here, for example, if I try to do up arrow for cloak blue, the game does not let me, because up arrow is already used by blink and Mjolnir and stuff. But if I wanna use cloak red on my numpad 6, which is the axe, it's not possible. So normally it's not possible to use the same key for two different actions. And the very first time this has been done, it was by manually editing a file. And that sounds fishy, right? That sounds wrong, because if we allow editing the game's files during a run or before a run, what prevents us to just edit the save file and directly teleport to the last room and the last boss, you know? It's weird to use an external tool to manipulate the game's file. So that was really wrong. And the second reason it's wrong, it's because if we allow manipulating that, and even if we say only that, let's not manipulate the save file, but only allow people to create their own macros by editing the keybind file, what about console players? Console players do not have access to that. So it means that PC player would have an advantage over console players. So that was really bad. That was an absolute no-no. And yeah, we pretty much all agreed that it was kind of bad to do that. It was considered cheating. The problem is that since that moment, we have found another way that do not use a notepad or a third-party tool or manual modification of the game to achieve the same results. And I'm going to show you here. So here, I have my keybinds. Let's just say Mjolnir is, I don't know, delete, and my blink is my normal blink button, and this one doesn't exist. Let's say it's that. So this is my normal keybind with blink on 8 and Mjolnir on right arrow. And let's say I want to create my macro, my blink Mjolnir macro. What I do is I go here on gamepad, say Mjolnir is up arrow, and the thing with up arrow is that it's the default key for blink. So when I go here and reset the blink key, it will set it to up arrow because the reset code do not check if the up arrow is used by something else or not. So I just created a macro without modifying the file. And that macro, I don't have the choice. It has to be up arrow because it's the default for blink. And now I just have to say that the gamepad blink is numpad 8, which is my normal blink. And tada, I just did a macro for my blink while still keeping my normal blink button. So I can use my normal blink button for the whole game, and then when I'm here, use the up arrow. So the macro. That's better than modifying a file because we only use tools that are, in the game. It doesn't require third-party tools. But the problem with that is console players do not have access to keyboard and gamepad. They only have one page, and it means that if they want a macro, they will only have one button. They cannot have a normal blink button and a macro button, which is still an advantage over a PC player advantage over console players, which is kinda still debatable and unfair. So that exists, and now what do we do? The first thing to note is that what I just did, the new strat I just did, is completely possible in the normal way. It's just slower and it's more skillful because if you are good at cancelling your stomps with a good blink timing, you will still be able to cross that gap faster. But here, for example, I messed my timing, so I just... That's a reset. In a real run, that's a reset. So it's still possible to do, but it requires skill. And the more skill you have, the faster you will go, because you will cancel your stomps quicker. So yeah, console players will still be able to do that stuff, but slower than macro players. So what do we do as a community? Do we allow it, or do we forbid it? The problem of allowing it, as I said, is it's an advantage for PC players. But if we say, well, it's forbidden to do that, how do we check? Because what's the difference between a really good player and a player that just cheats? How do we detect cheating? One solution you could imagine is to tell every player after a successful run to display the settings menu. That's what is done, for example, in Momodora, in the Momodora game. You have to display your controls after each successful run to prove that you have no macro or stuff like that. The problem is that in Teslagrad 2 that wouldn't work, because I also have a macro on numpad 4. So here I press numpad 4 and it does the same macro, but you won't see it here. There is absolutely no mention of numpad 4 because I've done that by manipulating the file, the game file, the bindings file. And in the bindings file, it's possible to create invisible keybinds that are not displayed in the game. And the game still registers them, but they are just not displayed. So it's not possible to just tell people to show these menus, because maybe there are some invisible macros. So maybe we could ask players to always have end cam or an input displayer or stuff like that, and that makes moderation a little bit more tough. So yeah, that's kinda bad. We don't know if we accept that, and moderation is easier, but but console players have a disadvantage. Or maybe we ban that, it will be hard to prove if somebody cheats. That's rough. There is one last possibility, and that possibility would be for Ren Games, the developers of Teslagrad 2, to take action and to either completely shut down the tech or find a way to allow it in a more simple way for everybody. So for example, Ren Games could, when you boot the game, check all the bindings and automatically disable the ones that are in conflict. Which maybe could cause some problems because by default, blink and look around map up is the same binding, so maybe that would cause some problems. But yeah, if Ren Games, when you boot the game, if Ren Games modifies their code so to disable any conflict, well, that wouldn't be possible to create macro even by, editing the save file. So that would be great, and everybody would have to manually do the cancel. So that would be cool. They could also allow everybody to use the same key for multiple actions and add a second page for the console players so they could also create their own macros, which could also work. And for reference, in Teslagrad 1, we had a tech, it was allowed to use the same button for multiple actions, and it was a tech in speedrunning to use that. We had two blink buttons to do a little Teslagrad 1 trick called EBH that relied on using a macro like that. So yeah, that's where we are. Either Ren Games patch something, patch that glitch in one way or another, and so they basically even the playfield, or us as a community have to find a way to do that. As a community, we have to take a decision. If we have no patch about that, we'll have to take a decision and tell us what you think. Should we allow that? And PC Master Race, fuck console players. They just had to play on PC or take the 10 to 15 seconds loss. Or do we say, no, it's forbidden and moderation will take more time and we could have some cheating in the community? Tell us what you think. Do you see anything I didn't mention? Do you have knowledge of other tools or of other stuff that could help us? If you have any solution, please tell us, and we'll see what the community or Ren Games decide about that. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and see you soon for more Teslagrad.